This is Charlie B. Perkinson, back at you, for the final chapter of The Perkinson Family, reflecting on the passing of their mama. In this chapter, we will hear from Clarence. Yes indeed, he's a wonderful God. Can I get an amen? Thank you, Sister Lisa, for that song. Brother Clarence, would you please come on up here and share your reflection? Thank you, Reverend. Thank you for everything. For nearly 2 hours, I've sat here and listened to the praises and songs dedicated to the memory of my mama. From the very start, I commenced to crying tears of joy. Hopefully, I can get through this reflection without weeping anymore. Weep as long as you like, Brother Clarence. The purpose of this tribute is meant to induce an array of emotions. Clarence. On May 3, 1980, my grandmother Rebecca called from Washington, D.C., to Los Angeles, California. The purpose of the call was to inform my big brother, Leroy, that our mama had passed away. Since Leroy wasn't home, she left a message with his wife, Helen. By coincidence, I was over at the house. This is when Helen told me. After I received the news, I was much sad, but at the same time, I was happy for Mama. At last, the suffering was over. Wanting to share my grief, I walked over a couple of blocks to a friend's house, who happened to be Miss Bryant, her daughter, Donna, and the rest of the family. They were some of the first people I had met when I first came to Los Angeles. Since Leroy, Willie and myself had just recently returned from Franklin, we were financially depleted. I had just gotten terminated from my job. With Leroy and Willie exhausting all the avenues of getting assistance, they were able to come up with some of the money to get back home. Still, we needed more. Reverting to our last sign of hope, Daddy was made aware of our predicament, and as a result, he came through. Not knowing how much money Daddy provided, I do know that Leroy and Willie didn't have to worry about returning back to Los Angeles. Since I was out of work, there was no immediate concern of me returning back to Los Angeles. During the time I was at home, I decided to pay a visit to all the white people that I used to do yard work for when I was a young boy. Besides wanting to say hello, I also wanted to inform them of my mama's death. A bit surprised from their reactions, they consoled me with their hearts and their pocketbooks. When all was said and done, I left High Street with $200. This money went towards my bus fare back to Los Angeles. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Brother Clarence. Brother Bryant, can I get you to come up here one more time? Can you describe how the funeral went? Reverend, I would love to resurface my memory of the funeral. Family and friends were in abundance. I was dressed in my wool military uniform. The weather was around 80 degrees. Needless to say, how I was feeling. Nevertheless, I'll say it anyways, I felt like a pig in a blanket, on slow roast. Sometime during the start of the funeral, Leroy went up to the closed casket, kneeled down and kissed it. He then went over to the preacher and whispered in his ear. He, in so many words, asked the preacher to speed up the process. After that, Leroy walked out of the church. Basically, all of the other siblings were crying in various degrees. At the burial site, Leroy nor Willie showed up. Once the funeral was over, we all returned home to lots of food, family and friends. As I conclude, I would like to say, thank you, with utmost sincerity. Thank you, Brother Bryant. As we bring this celebration to an end, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everybody for being here and for their participation. I also want to thank my 60-year-old wife for blessing me with a dose of good news. This morning, she informed me that she missed her cycle. Hopefully, this time, I fertilized her crop. For 40 years, we've been trying to have a baby. Bye y'all. See you next year. Charlie interrupting. This is it. The 9th and final chapter is over.